Michelle, and this is In Charge Country, and we are here today with RJ Curtis, who is Nashville editor at All Access.
All right, RJ, you having a good morning?
Having a great morning.
Good, good. So how did you get started in the music industry?
Oh, man. That's a long story because I've been in it a long time. But I got started in radio, and I was just out of high school and was a big radio fan growing up and always wanted to be in radio. So I pursued it my first year of college, did college radio, and then from there just sort of kept, working towards being in commercial radio. And so started my radio career as a teenager.
Cool. Will you explain a little bit about All Access to our viewers?
Sure. We are a online trade publication, and we cover the entire radio industry. We in Nashville, of course, cover the country format, and so we report on the news of radio, labels, and all the affiliated businesses that work with the country music industry. And our company covers all formats and is based in Malibu. We're a satellite office for All Access. Okay. So what we do is we, gather, report and generate news on a daily basis, and we post it live onto allaccess.com. We push out a daily newsletter called the All Access Country Daily every day. Okay. But we also interface with radio on a daily basis, and we talk to them about music. We do a lot of data collecting for labels and artists, and just find out what's working at radio, what radio is excited about, and just kind of get the pulse of what's happening with records out there.
What is your typical day?
Well, no day is really typical because we're sort of pivoting around on different projects, We're always focused on news that's coming in, and so we're generating news all day long. So that's ongoing. But we talk to radio on a daily basis too, so we're calling radio and gathering that data that I mentioned a moment ago, and it just changes from day to day and changes hour to hour. So it's not like you can sit there and say, I'm just going to work on news all day. That's part of the day that we have, sort of typical. But then sometimes you got to pick up the phone and call radio and talk to them. You're on the phone with labels a lot. Okay. Publishing, just all of it. So it's all coming at you. That's why all of us, and there's 3 people with All Access. My assistant Nashville editor is Montevaden, okay, and our editorial assistant is Brianna Galuccio. And so we're all kind of just moving around on different projects all day long, and the day goes fast. We don't sit around and twiddle our thumbs too much because there's a lot going on.
What are some of the trends that you've been seeing in country music?
Well, I think one thing we're seeing that I think we're all really happy about is a strong development with female artists. If you go back about 18 months to 2 years ago, there was a real concern that we weren't developing new female artists on the radio. We had Miranda Lambert, we had Carrie Underwood, we had Taylor Swift, and we don't have her anymore because she's not a country artist. She's a pop star now. But I think we're seeing some real strong artist development there. Kelsea Ballerini is coming off 2 straight #1 hits. I think in 2016 we're going to see Maren Morris, who has a big song. It's going to be a #1 song, My Church, with an album to follow that's unbelievable. And then I think coming soon after that will be Brandi Clark. So I think you have Kelsea already on the way. Cam had a big #1 hit last year. So Brandi Clark and Maren Morris, I'd put my money on those 2 ladies being the breakout female artists for 2016. And of course you have Carrie Underwood, who's put together the last 2 years, just some of the best years of her career. Just fantastic. So that's really good to see because I think the format needs balance. It needs females in it. It's a format that's always delivered strong female artists over the years. When you go back to Loretta Lynn and Faith Hill and Shania Twain, and the list goes on. And we really haven't had a lot of that for the past 5 years. So that's coming. And I also think we're moving away from, and I don't like the term really, but most people identify with the bro country term. I think we're moving a little bit away from that and into themes that are based on songs, stories, and meaningful themes in country music. The example there would be Tim McGraw's latest, Humble and Kind. I think that's a powerful message.
That's a great song.
And one that people, should really listen to and adhere to and live by. But I think there's more of that coming, and I think that's really good for our format.
Now, as program director throughout your years, what is one of the biggest mistakes you've seen indie artists make trying to get their songs played?
That are made are not limited to independent artists.
Okay.
There are things that happen by major label artists that turn programmers off. I think that when an artist doesn't show a willingness to develop a relationship with radio, or is reluctant to interface with radio on a regular basis, that can be off-putting to radio. because country programmers and country listeners want to have a relationship with our artists. They want to know more about them. And, you look at certain artists, for example, remember when Darius Rucker was making the shift from a rock artist with Hootie and the Blowfish to becoming a country artist. He did it right. He went out on the road. He visited radio. It was just he and his promo guy. At the time, it was Jimmy Harnan. They got in the car and they drove around the country and they visited radio and they hung out and they became friends, and he showed a real interest in country radio. He's a huge country fan, number one, so it was already there. But he showed an interest in these programmers, and now Darius Rucker has a ton of friends in radio. They love him. They give him a lot of support every year for his St. Jude event, which happens near the CMA Music Festival, CMA Music Festival. And so I think that's the mistake that some artists have. They don't want to really get in there. And that's really an important part of developing new artists, is their willingness to get in there and understand radio and make relationships that can last for years and years to come.
It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you for coming in. This is RJ Curtis, and I'm Michelle, and this is In Charge Country.